like to share with the House the sombre but also in some ways celebratory news that Carolyn Grant-Scalnes, the Chief Executive Officer of the Association of Independent Schools in South Australia, is retiring come the end of the year, potentially early next year. But her retirement has been announced in the last 24 hours, and it's appropriate to place on the record the outstanding career of service she's had to education, particularly supporting the educational needs and opportunities for young South Australians over a lifetime, indeed, of service. Carolyn Grant-Scalnes began her teaching career in public education, an English teacher and a history teacher, an outstanding communicator then and now. An innovative leader, particularly with a developed expertise in understanding the needs and opportunities for junior secondary students and middle school students, the opportunities for development of a child's potential through those middle school years is something she became indeed a national leader on. She moved from the public sector to the independent sector in the late 1980s, I believe 1988, and in 1990 was appointed to the very prestigious and highly sought-after role of Principal of Wilderness School, a position she held for 16 years until 2006. She was a national leader in girls' education, recognised as such right around Australia, and indeed in the professional development of staff, something that is absolutely taken for granted as its importance completely understood everywhere now. But in the 1990s, Carolyn's professional development of her staff identified the understanding that she had of its primary importance in the delivery of a quality education at the school that she led. Also a very effective recruiter of staff for the benefit of her school and the girls at Wilderness. During the time that she was at Wilderness, she was variously chair of the Industrial Relations Committee of AISA, the president of AISA, a member of boards of Tertiary Residential College St Anne's, the Teachers Credit Union, then known as Satisfac, and the National Council of Independent Schools of Australia. In 2006, she was appointed Principal of Lowther Girls Anglican Grammar School in Essendon in Victoria. In addition to that role, she held positions as Chair of the Victorian branch of the Association of Heads of Independent Schools of Australia and membership of the AISA Board, Treasurer of Girls Sports Victoria and a board member of the Centre for Strategic Education. She then came back to South Australia, for which we're all very grateful. In 2013, she became the Chief Executive of the Association of Independent Schools, a role that she's held for the last decade and will hold until her replacement takes over, likely early next year. In that role, she has developed an extraordinary reputation for the support that she's been able to give to principals and schools, the way that she's supported the strengthening of the governance within schools, the support she's provided to quite a number now, and an increasing and growing number of new independent schools that have been able to establish with advice and support from Carolyn and the team at AISA. She has provided support to the broader South Australian educational system through a range of ways, a participant in the sector heads, which of course meet regularly, certainly during my time as Minister, and looking to advance educational sector outcomes for all students. In that role, I particularly want to pay tribute to the work she did during the coronavirus pandemic, when around Australia education was in so many ways utterly chaotic in 2020 and 2021. South Australia alone kept schools open not only in the public sector but in all other sectors, and Carolyn's role in ensuring that the independent sector, along with Neil McGorran in Catholic Ed and Rick Pearce in the Education Department, were all singing from the same song sheet. That removed the risk of mixed messages to parents, students and staff, and that was tremendously important. She also serves Australia through the Australian Curriculum Assessment and Reporting Authority Board. She's the Deputy Chair of the Education Standards Board. She's served on the Teachers Registration Board, so many other boards. She's a Fellow of the Australian Council for Educational Leaders, and perhaps most importantly of all, she's a devoted fan of the Nord Redlegs Football Club. I think everyone in the chamber at the moment would thoroughly endorse that sentiment. Nearly everyone. Carolyn has led an outstanding career of service to education, to children, young people, families, schools and staff around South Australia. We wish her well in retirement. I know her family will be glad of her more. I know she will find many further ways to contribute to education in South Australia in the years ahead.